Welcome to the Idaho Business Podcast, the only Idaho podcast focused on providing profits for Idaho people. If you love our state and love small business, you are in the right place. We interview local legends, learn business, and have way too much fun doing it. You're listening to the Idaho Business Podcast with your friend, host, and all-around great guy and owner of New Clean Commercial Cleaning, Spencer Ward.
All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode. We're here with Corey Rasmussen, Doctor of Physical Therapy and owner of Physical Therapy Specialists of Idaho in Pocatello, Idaho. Welcome, Corey.
Yeah, thanks.
Before we get into all that and more into his introduction, we like to say that we are sponsored by Dell's Outdoor Advertising. These guys are phenomenal. Give Rob a call because they have billboard, both traditional and digital spaces from Pocatello all the way through Blackfoot, Idaho, available at your disposal. And if you sign at least a 3-month deal, you'll get your first month for free or your installation for free just by saying you heard about them on the podcast. So give Rob a call at 208-232-6886 and claim that deal right now. It's a great way to get in front of your potential audience and to make some stuff happening, especially right now as the economy is how it is. People are starting to cut back on their marketing, and that's kind of the perfect time to start ramping up your marketing because you have less competitors in that space. So Corey, again, welcome to the show. Corey was, an Idaho guy, born and raised in Twin Falls, not raised, but you grew up in Burley.
Right.
Then moved to Pocatello in 1997, attended Idaho State University, received your bachelor's degree in biology, and received your doctor's degree in physical therapy in 2006. And when exactly did you open up Physical Therapy Specialist of Idaho? What year was that?
We opened this in 2013.
Okay, very cool. And now you started with one location. Now you're how many locations?
I got two.
Now two locations.
Yep, we got one over there in Chubbuck.
Very cool. Very cool. And now you're not just you're physical therapy, but then you're specialized in spine conditions and all the other fun stuff like that. You're a what do you call it? Not a health coach, but a conditioning coach and all that stuff on top of this. So
sure,
that's pretty remarkable with what you got going on. So that's some good stuff.
Yeah. I got my doctorate at ISU and went to work for a company that was very had a good professional reputation and strived for excellence. And I had high ambitions to be the best at what I could be in this field. And so I saw them as a good opportunity to learn both business leadership as well as clinical skills. And they valued clinical education as well. So I had the opportunity to pursue a lot of those certifications fresh out of school while I was still in that student mode. And so a lot of those were very, very hard to get and took a lot of work and a lot of class and a lot of study and a lot of practice and experience. But I was able to get those early on in my career to help me with the success. And then now later in my career, I'm able to continue. I still have to do that stuff, obviously, for my license. And I continue to want to hone those skills and keep those certifications. But I also do a lot now more with heading to leadership and management courses as well these days.
Oh, that's great. So is the big reason that you found yourself in the physical therapy fields, is it because you were an athlete growing up and then you had some injuries, sustained some injuries, and you had to go through some physical therapy yourself, and that tweaked?
Yeah, that's why I think a lot of people go into physical therapy. It was probably part of it. I was an athlete and I did have some physical therapy. Looking back, maybe it was just what was out there at the time. It wasn't that great of physical therapy, but it was enough to get me interested in it. I always wanted to be in the medical world, and I wasn't a huge fan of the blood and guts, so I wasn't sure what I was going to be. And then, yeah, my high school, specifically my senior year, and then carrying over into my freshman year of college, I really got into exercise, and kind of seemed like the perfect blend for the medical model between exercise and the medical field. And then ISU at the time was converting from a master's program to a doctorate program. So it really seemed like a good fit for what I wanted to go into.
Very nice. Very nice. What's one of your favorite parts about this business?
Probably just the variability. It's not the same thing day in and day out. We do focus on orthopedic injuries. With physical therapy, I mean, you could be dealing with cardiovascular stuff, with wound care, with post-stroke, with spinal cord injuries, with, you can work in a hospital, you can work in a nursing home. So there's so much, even just within specializing in orthopedics like we do. I mean, you get to see neck, back, hip, shoulder, knee, ankle, and then no 1-2 knees is the same. Even if they both had a knee replacement, they come with their own different challenges. So I like the variability. It's not mundane. And I like not only the post-surgical, which, you have that challenge to get that person back to their prior level of function, but also the ones that don't get surgery, that you're either trying to avoid surgery, or in Idaho, we have what's called direct access, which means you don't need a physician's referral. So a lot of times we are having the patient come to us first, and we're having to do the diagnostic tests on them and stuff like that. And that's fun because you get to figure out, it's almost like being Sherlock Holmes. You kind of get to find out what's wrong with this person and then develop a treatment plan that's going to work for them. And so those are the kind of things I like, the challenge that it brings, and just the variability. And, dealing with the public, there's pros and cons to that. I love meeting new people, obvious, and different walks of life. I always tell people we're the bartenders of the medical community, because we get to spend so much time with people, and they tell us about their problems, but they also tell us about good fishing holes and, great camping spots and different things like that. And so bringing in recipes, dropping off cookies, those kind of things. And so it's a great life.
That's fun stuff there. So let's, you're a doctor in your practice, but then you're also an owner. How do you, decide, okay, this is when I'm a doctor, and then I've got to take that hat off, and now I've got to put my owner hat on, and I've got to put some systems in place to make sure this is running as smooth as possible?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and that's a balancing act. One of the best things that I did, I mean, I had a good mentorship going up the first 7 years I was out of school, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. But I think you continue to need that, life coach or whatever it might be, or someone in the field, because we don't know it all, right? And so it's important to have, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room kind of thing. And so early on, I did hire a consultant. Actually, I think he'd rather be called a coach now. I can't remember. But anyways, and, he part of his job was to try to push us out of that physical therapist job and get you to behave and act like a CEO. And he said, you're more of a CEO that turned into a physical therapist than a physical therapist that wants to be a CEO. And tried to get us into that mindset, because, the cliche of you need to work on the business more than you work in the business is really important with the more success that you have. And so, for me, that's a hard transition, I think, for people to just let that part go, because we enjoy what we do and we enjoy working with the people. And I think therapists are really particular about the way they like to do things. And so it's hard to let go of that. But, I'm come to a spot in my life that I can help so much more people if I just help the therapists underneath me and train them and teach them. Then I'm able to help people exponentially. So I really like where I'm at, and that time continues to change. Right now I do 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, where it's just admin stuff. And then I'm treating 3 days a week. Eventually, I'm trying to hire someone right now, actually, and because that time needs to grow even more on the administrative side, because I also head up the marketing, just like you mentioned before, it's important. And I have a certain message in the way I want to present things. And so that's part, while I have some assistants in a marketing team, I still need to be a huge part on that. So my time needs to be continued to switch. That's how I help others as well. So, right now it's a 60-40 split. Well, maybe, but it probably is going to start to swing the other way and become a 40-60 split before too long.
Yep. I agree, man. I very similar to your experience. I hired a coach for my other business as well. And same type of thing, where you're working on your business instead of working in your business. You're more valuable working on your business. And it's just interesting having that mindset shift. Are you owning your job or you're owning your business? And that's a super interesting concept to grasp, because the freedom is definitely owning the business. And like you said, you can help so much more people as you hire those caring therapists underneath you and set up processes and procedures. So your know-how, gets into all those people. So I like it. What's one of your maybe biggest frustrations that you come across?
Well, currently the biggest frustration is, people think healthcare is a great field to go into. Don't get me wrong about that. But healthcare reimbursement and payment is a difficult thing to work with. Medicare drives what we get paid. Blue Cross and all those are great companies, but they're going to follow suit to Medicare and what Medicare does. And the problem is Medicare continues to cut their reimbursement rates. Then you couple that with increased costs of college tuition. And so we're getting these new grads coming out with a lot more student debt. We're getting paid less, and somehow we need to pay for increased salaries, but we're getting paid less. So for the same services, we need to shell out more money for personnel, but we're not getting, it's not gonna, something's got to give eventually, right? And it's hard to attract new talent, telling them that, based on what we're getting paid, this is what we can afford as a salary. And they're like, but yeah, now I got, 6 figures in college debt. And so that's really hard to deal with. And so dealing with new grads, dealing with even these economic times, with inflation, we can't just increase, McDonald's could increase the price of their burger. Sure. We just can't increase the price of our services because Medicare is going to pay what they're going to pay us. They don't care what we charge. They're going to pay for that. And so we either go to a cash pay model, which can work in a high white collar community. But in our blue collar community, people rely on the insurance benefits and things like that. They work their butts off to pay for those premiums and to have some type of coverage that they have. And so it's driven by the insurance. And so it's frustrating. I wish I could pay all my employees $1 million, but I can't because we're kind of handcuffed. And so when the cost of living goes up, it's really hard to give just a blanket raise to everybody because, we're getting cut another 4% just next year. So it's like, even with the times right now, I just got an email, it's not set in stone that's what they're kicking around. And there was a 15% cut in physical therapy assistance this year. And so it's like, that's got to change for us. And so that's frustrating. So I could go on like all day on that. So we don't need to keep that one.
Well, I've got a buddy that's also in a similar field that's not physical therapy, but also, counts on Medicaid and stuff like that for reimbursements. And he's saying the same thing that, they're cutting back. But I guess the inflation doesn't affect the government. I guess that they don't take that into consideration that, everyone else's dollar is worth less, but the Medicaid money that you're getting is somehow magically worth more. So anyways, this is not a political podcast. I'm not going to get on a soapbox, but we have plenty to say on that if we wanted to, but that's ridiculous anyways. Yeah. So I feel for you, man, because that frustrates me, and I'm not even in the business. So that's crazy. So, well, what's some of the best advice you'd give our audience based upon your experience as a business owner / doctor? I've seen people come right out of school and want to go right into opening up their own practice, and there's some benefit to that, but it's a struggle. You're definitely making life hard on yourself. I would encourage people to, find somebody who you admire, their practices, their ethics, that kind of thing. And, you always want to mentor the best. Everybody wants to try to
hone their game after Michael Jordan or Steph Curry or something like that. And it's no different in every kind of field, that you want to find someone that you kind of want to be like. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, right? You can add your own flavor to it, but if someone's been successful with it, then you want to take what they used as success and follow them. So, for me, not only did I have that in the first 7 years, but I continued to have that. I continue to want to learn and be better and know that there's always a better way, and you don't know what you don't know. So yeah, if you live your life with your head in the sand and not listening to better business practices and stuff like that, you don't know how yours measures up. So you can be under the assumption that you're operating in the top 10%, when the fact is that you're not, unless you're putting yourself out there and you're kind of listening to what's out there. So, I think having a consultant or a life coach or something like that, whatever you field you're in, it is someone to kind of continue to hold you accountable, and that you can bounce things off of, because when stuff comes down the pipeline that I don't understand, I'm not the smartest man when it comes to business and stuff like that. So if there's something coming down the line, logistics wise, policy wise, or whatever, or even an HR issue that I've just never came across, then I have someone that I trust that I can just reach out and say, hey, how would you handle this? Or what do you think is going to come out of this kind of thing? And then I'm able to pass that down onto my employees. And it's not like we're living in the dark or much, or I'm not, again, reinventing the wheel. Someone's already been there, lived that, done it successfully. And now I'm trying to do a little bit of the same. And then the other things is, I really think of business is all about culture. Like that has to be your priority. So your purpose statement, your core values, and you stick to those guns. This is who you are. This is what you started out with, and don't compromise those. If there's someone, no matter how great of an employee they are, but they're kind of that fly in the ointment, they got to go if they're bringing down the team. And then you just got to bring in that next person. So you got quick to fire and slow to hire, they say. You want to make sure you start off with the right person, and that'll save you a lot of heartache in the beginning. And so for us, it's all about finding the right person, knowing that the training and the science will come, but they got to have the personality, the art. They got to be genuine. They got to care about people, particular in our field. But for us, when you're spending as much time as you do in a business together, it's hard enough if you don't already have similar core values. And so you got to get those people to have the same core values, and you got to continue to develop that culture and keep that as far as your decision making. Is this adding or taking away from my culture?
I couldn't agree more, man. It's speaking some wise words right now, because I agree with everything you just said. From the quick to fire to slow to hire, that's amazing stuff. To of course, it's leaving my head, but the beginning you just said, the beginning point you just said, I had a great thought. Now it's leaving my head. What was the first point you were mentioning?
I think I was talking about purpose statements and core values, maybe.
Yeah, the core values. Yeah, we talk a lot about core values on this podcast, and then with it in my business, we everything has to do with core values. Because literally, if you don't a core values fit, they don't know how to fit within your culture. They're not going to know how to treat your customers. They just don't fit. So total believer on that stuff. So I love it, man. Well, let's move on to the lightning round. Sure. Lightning round is sponsored by my company, New Clean Commercial Cleaning. And if you call into our number 208-254-7070 and say that you heard about us on the podcast, we will give you your 2 restrooms in your office, your tile and grout cleaned absolutely for free, just by saying you heard about us on the podcast. No strings attached. Right on. Corey, is there a favorite book or a tool or a software you've used recently that's been a game changer for you?
Good question. I do like my Audible books. So on Audible, doing the audio books, I have got a 20-minute drive to work and home, and it's a good way to, at least on the way to work, it helps prime my mind to listen to a book. On the way home, I kind of want to just use music and just kind of check out and digest for a minute there. But those mornings are good to get the mind rolling. So trying to just think of a recent book that I liked. I finally did Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I know it's an older book now and a classic, and I just kept putting it off, but I finished it like a month or two ago, and I just loved it. It was so awesome.
I just started it again today. It's been last year I listened to it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to listen to it again.
Yeah. I want to have it go to my kids too. I have all my employees talk about classic books. I have all my employees read How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think obviously that's a staple. But if people are just kind of new to self-help books, if you will, that's just a great one to start out with. Just solid knowledge in that one.
Yep. I was telling my last guest that I'm a big fan of Ed Milet and his podcast, and he's got a book right now that just came out. It's called The Power of One More, and that's one I'm reading. I actually bought the actual physical book, and so it's been a while since I've actually read a physical book, and I've just enjoyed it. So
yeah, what was the one? I just did one of his too. It wasn't his latest though. Just scrolling through my books right now, trying to find it. I can't remember, but yeah, he's got good stuff.
Yeah, he's got some good content. I really enjoy his content for sure. I talk a lot about Shoe Dog on this one. I've really enjoyed Shoe Dog. If you haven't read that one, it's one of my favorites. Phil Knight, the founder of Nike. It's one. Amazing story.
Oh, Max Out Your Life. That was the one from Ed Milet that I did.
Put that on the list.
Yeah. It's actually a pretty short one, but it's a good one.
Cool. I like it. Cool. Next question. Biggest myth business owners need to know the truth about?
Biggest myth business. I think the biggest myth is actually, when you get good at what you do and you get all your systems in place, ultimately you're going to have more freedom. But that is not the way it is in the beginning. No. You got to understand that you're in this for the grind, and that you're not the first one to take time off. You're usually the last one to take time off, and you're covering those shifts. And so it's it's not a 9 to 5, it's a 5 to 9, like they say. Yeah. And so you just, the grind usually pays off, but you got to be willing to pay that grind. It's not going to just come easy. So, you just got to make sure you're ready for that fight. I think that's one of the hardest things, is to make sure your significant other is on the same page, and know that there's going to be some late nights, there's going to be some missed recitals and that kind of thing, with the ultimate idea that you'll be have a lot more freedom in the end to enjoy some of those later years with your kids and your wife and that kind of stuff. But sacrifice has got to be made early on.
I agree. My wife learned early on when I was starting my business, whatever time I told her to be home, she always added about 3 or 4 hours to that, and she was always late. So, all right, last question. What's one of the questions I didn't ask, but I should have asked?
Let's see. Yes, some good ones. You asked. Maybe, you talked about some of my frustrations, but maybe not some of my failures, things like that, things that, kind of shaped you a little bit. Because, there's always that stuff with, Jordan and how many shots he actually missed and all that kind of stuff. I've been blessed, it's one of those things that one door closes and another one opens. And so I have been blessed in that one. Something kind of curveball's been handed my way, and it really seemed like, why is this happening to me kind of thing. It just has totally turned into a good thing. And so a lot of it, depends on how you handle those situations. And obviously good, I don't want to claim to be a good leader by any stroke of the imagination, but, good leaders tend to respond in adversary. And so I try to. And so we've had some issues that I won't go into, just from, whether it's a political thing, between, smaller communities and stuff like that, and how business is perceived or relationships are built and that kind of thing. And so sometimes you get handed one thing and another. And so you just got to take it and kind of roll with it,
Sure.
one of the mistakes I kind of made, and it has nothing to do with the particular physician by any means, but I kind of had hitched my wagon to one physician early on. We had an office in their building and that kind of thing. And it really, at the time I was like, yay, this is good. This is a pretty good flow of patients, but it really cut me off from the rest of the community. One, we were hard to access because we were in a smaller part of the building. And a lot of other physicians that obviously were in competition with this particular physician didn't want to also send to us, go into the same building. So it kind of stifled our growth. And then, things kind of came about that they did, and we needed to move out of there. And that was something at the time I was like, well, there goes a security blanket. But at the same time, at the time I was like, well, it's really, turned in overall that we've grown a little bit still. It was still a small percent of our business actually. So it was that extra push to get me out of my comfort zone that allowed me to kind of grow and take the next step, and really has helped us to blossom. I felt like I was kind of stifled early on, and now things have really gone well for me.
That's great. I like that. I like stories like that because, I've heard a lot of different stories like that, and I've had my own, and it's so true. They take those leaps of faith, definitely tend to work out for people.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, Corey, I appreciate you coming on the show with us today. What if people are listening and they're thinking, hey, Corey's a good dude, definitely want him or his other associates and doctors to be working on me when I get in some issues and problems with my body. What's the best way to reach you guys?
Yeah. We have all the typical stuff. I mean, we got a great website, ptsidaho.com, but we've got a phone number, 208-478-1488. And then that gives you the prompt for if you want a Chubbuck location or the Pocatello location. We're really conveniently located. Our Pocatello office is right next to the dollar store in the big Yellowstone Plaza that's across from Barry's here, kind of centrally located in town around Mandarin House and whatnot. And then our other one's the old Pizza Hut building in Chubbuck right off the freeway. Yep. Both great locations, both have great people there. Just call in and make an appointment. We have free consultations that we tried to do, but then we also have appointments available within 24 hours if you're just ready to kind of get started on therapy. So give us a call.
I like it, man. Appreciate it, and appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thank you, Spencer.
Yeah. And to all those listening, just remember, as always, stay away from those people that just want to bring you down. There's people in your life you just got to stay away from, and they could be people that are close to you. You just got to make the choice to stay away from them and say, or if they're real close to you, just got to say, you got to leave that negativity at the door. And because I'm trying to distance myself away from it. And, I'm only a source of positivity going forward, and go out there and dominate your week and enjoy yourself. So again, Corey, thank you. And everyone else, until next episode, see you later.
Congratulations on spending a couple of minutes getting a little bit smarter, having some fun, and supporting the Idaho business community. If you're feeling the love, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you are.